Let's bring in now the Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, David Spencer. He was also a Detective Chief Inspector in the Metropolitan Police Service. And we're also joined tonight by Surgeon Jonathan Shepherd from Cardiff University Security, Crime and Intelligence Innovation Institute. Professor Jonathan Shepherd, thank you both for joining us tonight. Professor Shepherd, it might not feel like it after an incident like we saw today in East London, but research that you've been a part of has shown that England and Wales are actually safer statistically this year.
Yes, that's right. With regard to violence that puts people in hospital, that needs emergency hospital treatment, we found that 2023 compared to 2022, there was a 14% reduction, and that amounted to 22,000 fewer A&E attendances for violence compared to the year before. And I think with regard to knife crime, the best data we have are hospital admissions data where people are admitted overnight. There were 3,800 admissions due to assault with a sharp object in 2022-3, and that is a 10% decrease compared to the previous year. And even with police statistics, there is a 5% lower number of knife offences in 2023 compared to the year before. So, and as your excellent graph showed earlier, we're not in the middle of a problem that's running away with us. It's quite clear that we're safer now than we used to be, and substantially safer than we were with overall serious violence compared to 2010.
And what do you attribute this change to?
We think that there are three things happening. First of all, there's better joined-up prevention involving health, police and local authorities working together. That's the first thing. The second thing would be that policing is much better targeted now than it used to be. There's a greater understanding of where the hotspots are for violence, including from unique information that's available in accident and emergency departments, because a lot of people who are injured don't go to the police and don't report what's happened. But we think there's a third reason, and that is seems to be a gradual change in people's behaviours, such that they're not quite so keen on losing it all on a night out at the weekend, and would rather stay in control of what they're doing. And one of the lessons we learned actually was in COVID, in the lockdowns, where you'd expect with people confined to their homes during lockdown, knife injuries would become more common because knives are universally available in the home, aren't they? But there was no sign of an increase in weapon use during those COVID lockdowns.
Professor, I'm going to bring in David Spencer, Head of Crime and Justice at the Policy Exchange. David, we have insights more than ever before, really, into serious knife crime. Are we making the best use of them? It's encouraging what Professor Jonathan Shepherd has said, but could we do more?
Well, I think you referred to one of the most important insights earlier in the programme and just now with Professor Shepherd, and that is, taking London as an example, there are a handful of streets in London's West End where there is more knife crime than about a third or so of London's streets combined. So with that sort of insight, it is then possible to deploy police officers in a certain way, to use certain tactics in a certain way, and really focus on those hotspots where we know that knife crime is the most serious.
Is this being done up and down the country, this kind of targeted policing? Because, we're concentrating on London today because of the incident that has happened, but we know that, for instance, the West Midlands at the moment is the hotspot for knife crime in the country.
Well, you're right. There's four areas in the country where it is markedly higher. So London, the West Midlands, Manchester and Cleveland in the North East. So we know that they are the areas where there are the most serious issues and the highest rates per head of population. So they are the places where we can see the most significant levels of intervention. I think the key thing here is, though, it is not just these power few, as the research has described these locations. It is, we do know that this is a very serious problem nationally, and some of your speakers spoke, very emotively about it and very powerfully earlier about it. That this requires leadership from the very top of government. This requires Prime Minister and Home Secretary intervening in this as a central mission of government. And it is only with that that we will start to see these sorts of terrible scenes fewer and fewer.
David Spencer, Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, and Professor Jonathan Shepherd from Cardiff University Security, Crime and Intelligence Innovation Institute. Thank you so much for your time here on the UK Tonight. Thank you.
Pleasure.